Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, February 2nd, which means tomorrow, February 3rd, is when the February issue of Isthmus debuts on the street. Joining me is editor Judy Davidoff. Judy, happy February to you.
Thank you. Happy February to you as well.
Thanks. Let's start out with the cover story in this month's Isthmus. It's by our staff writer, Dylan Brogan, talking about a topic that's on a lot of people's minds.
Yeah. So Dylan, who's done a lot of reporting on the schools, he grew up in Madison. He's a product of Madison schools, went to Madison East, has a lot of good sources throughout the school district. And he talked to, I believe, about 18 teachers and local education advocates, former school board members, and just trying to really get a sense of what's going on with the schools right now. There's a lot of news about staffing shortages and there's safety questions. The school board got rid of the police officers in the high schools, and there have been some kind of publicized or fights that have gotten on the news. And so there's concern about that. And of course, COVID on top of everything.
Yeah, this is coming at an interesting time for the school district and the school board, in that, of course, there's another round of school board elections this spring. And Dylan touches on that a bit as well.
Yeah, he does. I mean, first of all, there are three races, but two uncontested. Starting with that, people are just wondering why such, little interest in being on the board. It's a really important body in the city. And so, of course, just even that suggests there might not be great news with the school board. Definitely there are critics who see a lack of leadership over the last few years. This school board was new. People on the board hadn't really run for office before, for the most part. Well, that's not true. Ananda and Ali had each run for the board before, and then they were elected. But they were, new, there weren't any people really on with years and years of experience. And again, of course, the school district has had all of the difficulties that COVID has imposed in terms of virtual learning and when to bring kids back and how to keep them safe, and all really difficult issues to deal with.
On a lighter topic, you wrote this month's Snapshot piece. Can you start out by telling us how the Snapshot piece of the paper sort of came to be and what we hope to accomplish with that part of the paper?
Sure. The Snapshot really was inspired by this woman who I saw standing by the site of the old Raphael's church downtown. I would go home that way, usually on my bike. And I just, there were several days and weeks I would see her there, and she just seemed to be in this pose of kind of prayer. An older woman, she almost looks like a nun in the way she dresses. And after several weeks, I just kind of got the courage to introduce myself and ask her what she was doing. And she said that that had been her church forever. And she continued, even though she went to a nearby church, she continued to come to this site that she considered sacred, at least once a day. Oh. And, it's not really a news story. I'm not sure it's even a longer feature, but it struck me and us when we were talking about it, like that was a snapshot of that moment in time in Madison. And I wish there were a place in the paper to put those kinds of stories. And so that's really how it developed. It was, at least in my mind, initially more of a sort of serendipitous type of story, something that you would really stumble upon.
Yeah, I like it that it accomplishes the task that journalism attempts a lot to bring people to a place or an event or a time that they couldn't or weren't, there. They were off doing their own thing. They were doing their own life. So it's a time and a place to transport people to. And I think that definition really fits well with what you wrote about this month down on Lake Monona. Tell us about your event.
Right. Well, I'm not a skater myself, but I was hearing a lot about how great the ice was on Lake Monona this year, and didn't really even know what that meant at first, but learned that because of a variety of sort of conditions that came together at the right time, Lake Monona had this great, thick, smooth ice for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, without snow cover, which is, unusual for the winter. And as a result, people were just getting out there as often as they could, doing short skates, skates, longer skating times. Why can't I go with, there were hockey players, dog walkers, the ice boats were out. And, then it became also people were looking for the snow owl or snow owls, not sure. And, I was there once, saw a bald eagle right there. People reported seeing foxes cross the lake. And it really just was kind of magical being out there. It was very cold for the week that I was going out there.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it was, I think as I write, this sort of vast expanse of sky and ice. And it just felt, really freeing. And I'm sure, being stuck inside again, and not being able to do much with others because of COVID, I think added to how magical it felt.
I live a few blocks from Lake Monona, and I spent a lot of last winter doing what a lot of people in my neighborhood did, which was just sort of trudging across the snow. And, you go for a walk and you mix the lake into your walk, and that's fine and everything. But when you can skate as far as you sort of want to, like as far as your imagination can take you out into the middle of the lake, it is pretty magical. And the fact that it was like fleeting really made it better. I think it's gone now.
Yeah.
That opportunity. So, although I'm told that someone has plowed like a skating path along the lake shore here, which I haven't seen yet. I'm going to check it out.
Well, right. I mean, and I would imagine if you got that snow when it first fell and when it was still pretty light, you could probably do that. It makes me, I wish I could skate. That's it. It looks so much fun to do that.
Yeah. Finally, we check in with Bill Leaders again. Bill Leaders, of course, was the longtime news editor at Isthmus, and he's written an opinion column in this month.
Yes. So it's an opinion column based on a big investigative report he did for the Progressive magazine, where he's now editor. And it really started off as a personal story. His mother, at 97, was essentially evicted from the senior care facility where she's lived for 10 years. What happened is she fell. She was in a rehab center. And then on the day she was supposed to return, the family was told that she could not return based on, what they said were her two great needs. Of course, that created, endless stress and for the family. They had to, she had to stay in rehab again during COVID, and they had to find her a new place to live. And turns out there is state law that does require these facilities to give, I believe, at least 30 days notice and have particular reasons, none of which seem to fit this situation. So Bill investigated, lodged a complaint. It is being investigated by the state. He hasn't heard back yet. So he is writing about the whole situation, and also, of course, finds out that this is not particular to Wisconsin, that this kind of situation happens all across the country. And it's just, you just think about how horrible that is. I mean, losing your home on any level, but to be at that age and that frail really feels heartless.
Yeah, right, right. At this time, especially too with COVID again, sort of weighing over everything. It's pretty
Yeah.
awful. Well, thank you. Looking forward to seeing getting it in our hands as we roll out to the loading dock on a frigid morning tomorrow.
But the snow might not be coming as of last week. I think they were. I was thinking, how do you deliver papers in a snowstorm that will dump 12 inches?
Thankfully, that's not the case, but yeah, we'll deal with the cold. But yeah, we'll see everybody out on the street. Look for Isthmus starting on Thursday, February 3rd. Oh, and a quick note, don't forget, March will be coming out 1 week late to accommodate the Wisconsin Film Festival guide. So look for us on March 10th in March.
Good.